Take you back to that broadcast of the National Social Investment Program at the Presidential Villa.
Leveraging on their structures to support our efforts in the communities. We signed MOUs with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Health as well as with Nat'l, defining our roles and responsibilities in program implementation. To reduce overheads, assure sustainability and measurable outcomes, we prepared and shared our strategies that were flexible enough for each state government to adapt to, taking into consideration their particular nuances. Since state governments are constitutionally mandated to drive education, health, and agriculture, we briefed the governors and requested that they sign up for the programs, clarifying their roles and responsibilities for each of the state ministries and agencies. Bearing in mind that it is only where the states embrace and drive the programs along our defined parameters that capacity can be built within, we proceeded to share the framework that would enable us to pay the beneficiaries directly, while the states provide complementary ground support, such as human capital from their civil service, as well as volunteers at community and local government level. We asked for office space, equipment, logistics, and publicity, but no complementary funding. Action Aid, being funded by DFID, is also providing us with an objective, independent voice in the selection of third-party civil society monitors in every nook and corner of this country. The first program was the NPAR that I'll talk about is the NPAR program. Because of the growing statistics of young, jobless Nigerians, as well as the high levels of youth restiveness and criminality. This program aims to ensure that every and any young Nigerian, graduate or non-graduate, between the ages of 18 and 35, can be paid 30,000 naira monthly over a period of 2 years if they volunteer to acquire the skills needed for effective delivery and productivity. So far, 87% of selected NPAR graduate volunteers have started receiving payments, having been employed to teach as assistants in primary and secondary schools, to serve in primary healthcare centers and as agricultural extension workers. 13% of them are yet to be paid. Some of them have been disqualified as a result of fake or incomplete records, while others have been absent from the verification and deployment exercises conducted in the states and the local governments. We are currently addressing the backlog of outstanding payments. The process, in brief, involved an online portal being opened last year, June 2016, for about 3 months, on which applicants who were keen in serving in specific vocations submitted their details, and those details are being utilized as the basis for verification, deployment, and payment. Where connectivity was identified as a challenge in the states, governors were requested to support the youth in those jurisdictions by downloading and printing hard copies of the application form, and then taking them into the communities, having them completed, and then having them uploaded onto the portal. By so doing, we were able to engage, or applicants from 774 local governments were able to engage with the program, out of which 200,000 youth volunteers were eventually selected. With the cash transfer program, it's a social assistance program in the form of a conditional cash transfer designed for the poorest and most vulnerable in our rural communities. So far, 35 states and the FCT have engaged with the cash transfer program and signed MOUs with us. Almost 70,000 households in 9 initial states, whose caregivers already have validated BVN records, are presently being paid 5,000 naira per month, while over 350,000 more households have been identified and are rapidly growing in 12 more states. Our caregivers in the households are being organized into cooperatives to be trained on business and life skills, sanitation and nutrition, since on any day the community could become a veritable platform for direct engagement. Bank accounts are also generated for them on the basis of their BVN, but in the interim, payments are being effected in their communities using services of select mobile money operators. It is a matter of time before our beneficiaries begin to save and grow their businesses, knowing how resilient and hardworking our people in the communities can be. It was clear that in the effort to reduce our extreme indices, we needed a credible process for identifying the poorest in our communities. To minimize exclusion and inclusion errors and ensure that the community owns the process, we adopted a tripartite method of selection. So we do geographical mapping, knowing that we can only cover 30% of our poor in this first year. We know which 30% from here are the poorest local governments. Then we go into the communities and conduct community-based targeting, where the community itself identifies who the poorest are or what poverty means in their context. Once that is agreed on, we now visit those households and take down the information on a device that has a proxy means testing formula. That device throws up it ranks them according to the poorest to the least poor. Because of our budgetary constraints, we can only pay 80 households or 80 caregivers per week for us to be able to go around the entire country. Grievance redressal mechanisms have been established at the community level to address complaints, and these registers that are being developed are being housed in the Ministry of Budget and Planning of each of the states. And the collective, all the state registers are now housed at NIBS. That is how our national unified and harmonized platform for all cash transfer benefits. All our beneficiaries will mind from that register. We are currently collating potentially meaningful register. We are currently collating potentially meaningful and useful data. For instance, the initial number of households from 8 states captured on the social register, we realized that 50% of them are female, and 21% of those households are female-headed households. We found that only 5% had members who were people living with a disability. For that purpose, we've met with associations, with the leadership of people living with disabilities, and we're trying to draw up a policy that will mainstream them into our programs. The federal government has established a National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office called NASCO, and a cash transfer office under the Social Investment Office in order to effectively institutionalize and coordinate a system development platform for all the programs. That's the social safety net programs. Both the ESO and the CSDP programs, the Youth Support Program and the Community Support Development Program that are World Bank assisted, have been relocated to NASCO from the Ministry of Finance, as it was before in the past dispensation. We're in the process of engaging biometric enrollment providers and alternative payment providers to fast-track cash payments. We can only hope that our banks will seize the opportunity of designing effective strategies to capture and nurture this new crop of customers who, though poor today, have the real potential of becoming profitable clients due to the sheer volume and the potential that they have. The Homegrown School Feeding Program aims to encourage millions of out-of-school children to enroll in primary school by incentivizing them and their parents through the provision of 1 free meal per day. This program is deliberately tagged homegrown as it creates value at the local level by generating sustainable jobs for community women who serve as cooks in classes 1 to 3, and by raising demand for products grown by smallholder farmers in our rural areas. Feeding has commenced in 8 states, while cook-to-pupil mapping has been carried out in 16 states. 18 states are presently ready to commence the program. We are feeding over 1 million plus 1 to 3 pupils at the moment in over 8,000 schools. 26 states have engaged in the program by carrying out capacity building workshops with the aim of establishing multisectoral teams. Cooks are selected in an open, inclusive, and transparent process. They're medically screened, trained on hygiene, allergies, and then enlisted onto the program after their BVN is taken and accounts are opened for them. The pupils themselves are enumerated, dewormed, and linked to the nearest primary healthcare center, with no more than 150 of them being given to one cook for feeding. States are leveraging on bulk purchased farm and dairy products and schemes to ensure a sustained supply to the cooks. The final program is the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, which is designed to provide small-scale enterprises access to financial services over a period of 6 months. In summary, loans of between 10,000 and 100,000 have been disbursed to a total of 59,376 beneficiaries across 32 states in every geopolitical zone. 56% of our beneficiaries are female. Artisans have borrowed 28%. Livestock, poultry, chicken and fish farmers have borrowed 9% of the total so far disbursed, while crop farmer product commencement should hopefully begin at the end of June, because we need to ensure that the product meets the farming season and all the details there. We are reserving 25% of all loans for farmers. All in all, youth cutting across all categories constitute 35% of our beneficiaries. JEEP funds are managed by the Bank of Industry, which has proved a worthy partner in our implementation efforts. It has no interest element, just a 5% flat fee that's for administration, because we need to pay the agents that collect the money, and there's no requirement for collateral. All that JEEP demands is for interested applicants to register a cooperative and submit their information through a market money portal or several other entry points, such as the state ministries of women affairs or trade or commerce or the Bank of Industry. We also have focal persons in each state, so they can also be engaged on any of our programs. The leadership of each cooperative then takes responsibility for guaranteeing that each member of the cooperative shall not default on payments. Otherwise, they would be held accountable. The objective of this administration is to support and enable Nigerian citizens to live a life of security and dignity by allowing them to participate in and benefit from the social and economic transformation of our country. In showcasing the impact of government's efforts today, especially in respect of those who have hitherto never felt or been able to access government services, we remain thankful for